Mentally strong people don't think better thoughts. They think differently. Think about this for a second. Two people face the same problem, same pressure, same fear. One shuts down. The other moves forward. The difference isn't confidence, luck, or talent. It's the way their mind reacts in that moment. Mental strength shows up in daily life, not in big speeches. It shows up when you wake up tired, but still do what needs to be done. When you mess up and don't run from it. When you feel unsure and still take the step. Most people wait to feel ready. Mentally strong people don't. Most people avoid effort and hope regret won't catch them later. Mentally strong people know it always does. They protect their energy, make clear choices, and don't let emotions drive the wheel. If you've ever felt stuck in your own head, if you overthink, delay, or feel drained by everything around you, this is for you. What you're about to hear isn't motivation that fades tomorrow. It's a way of thinking that changes how you handle pressure, failure, and everyday life. Stay with this, because once your thinking shifts, everything else starts to follow. Chapter 1. Own your thoughts instead of blaming others. People who are mentally strong live by one simple truth. They understand that their thoughts shape their days and their days shape their lives. I have spent my life studying people, watching how they succeed and why they struggle, and the biggest difference is not talent, luck, or background. The difference is who they choose to blame and who they choose to lead. Mentally strong people lead their own thinking. Weak thinking always looks for someone else to point at. Strong thinking looks in the mirror first. Most people do not realize how often they give their power away. They wake up tired and blame the job. They feel unhappy and blame the past. They feel stuck and blame their family, their boss, their partner, the economy, or their age. Every time you blame something outside of yourself, you give away control, and when control is gone, progress stops. Mentally strong people refuse to live that way. They understand that blaming others might feel good for a moment, but it costs too much in the long run. Owning your thoughts does not mean life is fair. It does not mean people always treat you right. It means you decide what happens next inside your mind. You decide what you focus on. You decide what meaning you give to events. You decide how long you stay angry, how long you stay discouraged, and how long you stay stuck. That decision is the foundation of mental strength. I have seen people go through hard times and come out wiser, stronger, calmer, and more focused. I have also seen people go through small problems and let those problems ruin their lives. The difference is not the size of the problem. The difference is how they think about it. Mentally strong people say, "This is my responsibility, even if it was not my fault." They understand that responsibility is not about blame. Responsibility is about ownership. Ownership creates movement. Blaming others keeps the mind busy, but it keeps the life the same. It creates noise, but no progress. When someone says, "My boss makes me unhappy, my partner ruins my peace, my past controls my future," they are handing their life to someone else. Mentally strong people do not do that. They say, "My job is tough, so I must grow. My relationship is challenging, so I must communicate better. My past was painful, so I must think differently today." The mind listens to what you repeat. If you repeat blame, the mind stays small. If you repeat ownership, the mind becomes strong. Every thought you allow becomes a habit. Every habit becomes a direction. Mentally strong people guard their thoughts carefully because they know thoughts decide direction. This does not mean ignoring emotions. It means understanding them. When anger shows up, mentally strong people do not say, "Someone made me angry." They say, "I feel angry, and I will decide what to do next." That small shift changes everything. One sentence gives away power, the other claims it back. Power always begins with language inside the mind. Owning your thoughts also means owning your excuses. Excuses sound reasonable, they sound logical, they sound comforting, but they quietly steal your future. Mentally strong people hear their excuses and question them. They ask, is this helping me, or is this protecting me from effort? Growth always asks for effort. Blame protects comfort. Ownership creates growth. Think about how often the mind wants to say it is too late, too hard, too unfair, or too risky. Mentally strong people do not argue with those thoughts emotionally. They respond with discipline. They say, maybe it is hard, but I can still act. Maybe it is unfair, but I can still improve. Maybe I am afraid, but I can still move. Strength is not the absence of negative thoughts. Strength is the refusal to obey them. People who own their thoughts take responsibility for their reactions. Two people can face the same situation and walk away with completely different lives. One becomes bitter, one becomes better. The situation did not decide that, their thinking did. Mentally strong people ask better questions. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me, they ask, what can I learn? And what can I do next? When you blame others, you stay emotionally tied to them. Your mood rises and falls based on what they do or do not do. That is a tiring way to live. Mentally strong people choose emotional independence. They still care, they still feel, but they do not allow others to control their inner world. They protect their thinking because they know peace begins there. Owning your thoughts also means taking responsibility for self-talk. The voice inside your head matters more than any voice outside. If that voice is harsh, negative, and blaming the world, you will feel heavy, even on good days. Mentally strong people train that voice. They speak to themselves with honesty, not cruelty. They tell themselves the truth without tearing themselves down. This is where confidence really comes from. Confidence does not come from praise. It comes from knowing you can trust yourself to respond well. Every time you choose ownership over blame, you build self-respect, and self-respect creates quiet confidence. Not loud confidence, not fake confidence, real confidence that stays steady when life gets rough. Many people wait for motivation to change their thinking. Mentally strong people know motivation follows action. They do not wait to feel different. They decide to think differently first. They interrupt blame in the moment. They pause, they breathe, they choose a better thought. That pause is powerful. In that pause you choose the direction of your life. Owning your thoughts also means accepting that growth is uncomfortable. Blame feels easier because it removes pressure. Ownership adds pressure, but pressure creates strength. Mentally strong people accept that discomfort is part of becoming better. They do not complain about the weight. They lift it. There is a quiet freedom that comes with this way of thinking. When you stop blaming others, you stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for circumstances to change. You become active instead of reactive. Life feels lighter, not because it is easier, but because you are stronger. The world does not owe anyone understanding, fairness, or comfort. That truth upsets many people. Mentally strong people accept it early and move on quickly. They do not waste energy arguing with reality. They work with it. They build within it. They grow because of it. Every day offers chances to practice this. Traffic delays, criticism, mistakes, bad news. In each moment the mind wants to blame. Mentally strong people catch that habit and redirect it. They say, what is in my control right now? That question builds strength. That question builds leaders. That question builds better lives. Owning your thoughts does not mean you never fail. It means when you fail, you learn faster. It means you recover quicker. It means you do not stay down long because you are not busy blaming the fall. You are busy standing back up. I have learned that success is not something you chase. It is something you attract by the person you become, and the person you become is shaped by how you think when no one is watching. Mentally strong people win those private moments. They take responsibility for their thinking, when it would be easier to complain. If there is one decision that changes everything, it is this decision to stop blaming and start owning. Own your thoughts, own your reactions, own your growth. That decision puts you back in control, and control gives you direction. Direction gives you momentum. Momentum builds a life you can respect. Mentally, strength begins the moment you stop saying "this is happening to me" and start saying "this is happening and I decide what comes next." That is how mentally strong people think. Chapter 2. Slow your reactions to protect your peace. Mental strength shows itself most clearly in the space between what happens and how you respond. That space is where peace lives or disappears. Most people lose their peace, not because life is too hard, but because they react too fast. They speak before they think. They decide before they understand. They let emotions take control before wisdom has a chance to step in. Mentally strong people slow that process down. They do not rush their reactions because they value their inner calm more than the urge to be right or loud. I have watched people ruin relationships, careers, and years of progress in a single emotional moment. The damage did not come from the situation, it came from speed. Fast reactions feel powerful in the moment, but they usually leave regret behind. Mentally strong people understand this early. They know that the fastest response is rarely the best one. They train themselves to pause not because they are weak, but because they are disciplined. Life constantly presses buttons. Someone says the wrong thing. A plan falls apart. An expectation is not met. Stress shows up without warning. The untrained mind reacts instantly. The trained mind takes a breath. That breath is not empty. It is filled with awareness. It gives the brain time to move from emotion to judgment. That is where peace is protected. Slowing your reaction does not mean suppressing feelings. It means allowing feelings without letting them drive. Anger, frustration, disappointment, and fear are normal. Acting on them without reflection is optional. Mentally strong people feel deeply, but act carefully. They understand that emotions are signals, not commands. Many people believe that reacting quickly shows confidence. In truth, it often shows insecurity. When someone reacts fast, they are usually trying to defend their ego. Mentally strong people do not feel the need to defend every comment or correct every opinion. They are secure enough to let some things pass. Silence is not weakness when it is chosen. Silence can be strength. Peace is fragile when reactions are uncontrolled. Every fast response pulls attention outward. It ties emotional stability to external events. Mentally strong people want their peace to come from within. That requires patience. That requires slowing down. That requires choosing response over reaction again and again. Think about how often people replay moments they wish they handled differently. Words spoken too quickly. Messages sent too fast. Decisions made under pressure. Mentally strong people still make mistakes, but they make fewer of them because they respect the pause. They understand that a calm response today prevents regret tomorrow. Slowing reactions also improves clarity. When the mind is rushed, it sees only parts of the picture. When the mind slows, it sees context, tone, intention, and consequence. That wider view leads to better decisions. Better decisions lead to better outcomes. Peace grows when decisions are aligned with values instead of emotions. One of the greatest skills a person can develop is emotional timing. Knowing when to speak and when to wait. Knowing when to act and when to observe. Mentally strong people are students of timing. They do not let urgency push them into mistake. They understand that not every situation requires immediate action. Stress feeds on speed. Calm grows with patience. When you slow your reaction, your body relaxes, your thoughts settle, and your perspective widens. You stop fighting every moment. Life becomes something you engage with thoughtfully, instead of something you survive emotionally. Many people think peace comes from fixing everything around them. That is exhausting and impossible. Mentally strong people know peace comes from managing themselves. They cannot control others, but they can control their pace. Slowing reactions is one of the most practical forms of self-respect. When criticism arrives, the fast reaction is defense. The slower response is evaluation. Mentally strong people listen first. They ask whether there is something useful in what they heard. If there is, they grow. If there is not, they let it go. Either way, their peace remains intact because they did not hand it over impulsively. Slowing down reactions also strengthens relationships. People feel safer around those who respond thoughtfully. Trust grows when words are measured. Conflicts resolve faster when emotions are not allowed to escalate. Mentally strong people become steady presences in other lives because they are steady within themselves. This skill takes practice. The mind is used to speed. The world rewards quick opinions and instant replies. Mental strength often means choosing a different pace than the crowd. It means being comfortable with delay. It means not letting pressure rush your judgment. There is power in waiting. Waiting allows emotions to settle. It allows facts to surface. It allows wisdom to catch up. Mentally strong people are not afraid of waiting because they know that patience saves energy. Energy saved can be invested in growth. Slowing reactions also improves self-control. Each time you pause instead of reacting, you strengthen discipline. Discipline builds confidence. Confidence creates peace. This cycle grows stronger with repetition. Over time, calm becomes natural. Reactivity fades. Peace is not something you find, it is something you protect, and protection requires boundaries. One of the strongest boundaries you can set is between stimulus and response. That boundary keeps your inner world from being invaded by every outside disturbance. Mentally strong people understand that they do not need to attend every argument. They do not need to match every tone. They do not need to explain themselves to everyone. They choose their responses carefully because their energy is valuable. When you slow your reactions, you also gain influence. Calm people are listened to. Thoughtful words carry weight. Emotional outbursts are forgotten quickly. Measured responses are remembered. Mental strength creates quiet authority. This approach also reduces mental exhaustion. Constant reacting keeps the nervous system active. Slowing down allows recovery. It allows rest. Peace is not laziness. Peace is efficiency of emotion. The goal is not to become emotionless. The goal is to become intentional. Intentional responses align actions with long-term goals instead of short-term feelings. Mentally strong people think beyond the moment. They ask what response serves the future version of me. Every day provides chances to practice. Delays, disagreements, misunderstandings, pressure. Each one asks the same question: will you react or will you respond? Each time you choose response, you strengthen peace. This way of thinking changes how life feels. Problems still exist. Challenges still come, but they do not control your inner state. You remain grounded. You remain clear. You remain steady. Mental strength is not loud. It is calm. It is controlled. It is patient. Slowing reactions is not about holding back. It is about choosing wisely. When you slow your reactions, you give yourself the gift of peace. That peace becomes the foundation for better thinking, better relationships, and better results. That is how mentally strong people protect what matters most. Chapter 3. Build trust in yourself through follow-through. Trust in yourself is not built by confidence alone. It is built by evidence. And evidence comes from one simple habit: doing what you said you would do. Mentally strong people understand this deeply. They do not rely on motivation or mood to feel capable. They rely on follow-through. Every promise kept to themselves becomes proof that they can be trusted. Over time, that proof turns into quiet strength. Many people struggle with self-doubt not because they lack ability, but because they have broken too many agreements with themselves. They planned, they promised, they delayed, they quit. Each time that happens, the mind takes note. It remembers inconsistency. Confidence fades not from failure but from unreliability. Mentally strong people repair that damage by becoming dependable to themselves first. Follow-through is not about grand goals. It starts with small actions done consistently. Waking up when you said you would. Finishing what you started. Showing up even when energy is low. These moments may seem ordinary, but they are powerful. Each one strengthens the relationship you have with yourself. Trust grows in repetition. People often ask how to believe in themselves more. The answer is simple but not easy. Keep your word. The mind respects action. It does not respond to positive talk alone. It responds to patterns. When you follow through regularly, your inner voice changes. Doubt becomes quieter. Certainty grows naturally. Mentally strong people do not wait until they feel confident to act. They act to earn confidence. They understand that confidence is a result, not a requirement. Every completed task becomes a vote for self-trust. Enough votes create belief. Breaking promises to yourself carries a cost. It creates hesitation. It creates internal resistance. When you say you will do something and do not, the next promise feels heavier. Motivation drops because the mind expects disappointment. Mentally strong people avoid this cycle by choosing fewer promises and honoring them fully. Follow-through also builds discipline. Discipline is not harsh, it is respectful. It means treating your goals seriously. It means honoring your future self. Mentally strong people think long-term. They understand that small, consistent actions shape identity. Identity is powerful. When you see yourself as someone who follows through, behavior aligns with that belief. This identity is not created by affirmations. It is created by action repeated often. Each follow-through reinforces who you believe you are. Many people rely on external accountability. That can help, but it is limited. Internal accountability lasts. Mentally strong people hold themselves responsible even when no one is watching. That private integrity builds public strength. Follow-through also reduces stress. Unfinished commitments create mental noise. They linger, they drain attention. When you complete tasks, your mind feels lighter. Peace grows from completion. This habit also improves decision-making. When you trust yourself, you hesitate less. You commit with clarity. You stop second-guessing. Because your past actions support your choices. Mentally strong people move forward with confidence because they have earned it. Follow-through requires patience. Results are not immediate. The mind wants quick rewards. Mental strength means staying consistent even when progress feels slow. Trust builds quietly. One action at a time. People often confuse self-trust with self-esteem. Self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. Self-trust is how much you believe your actions. Feelings change quickly. Trust changes slowly but lasts longer. Mentally strong people invest in trust. There will be days when follow-through feels heavy. Energy drops, discomfort rises. These moments matter most. Completing tasks on hard days sends a strong message to the mind. It says effort does not depend on comfort. That message builds resilience. Follow-through also teaches self-respect. You stop negotiating with excuses. You stop lowering standards. You become someone who takes their own goals seriously. This respect shows in posture, tone, and presence. Others notice, but more importantly, you notice. Mentally strong people simplify commitments. They do not overload themselves. They choose what matters and commit fully. Overcommitting leads to broken promises. Simplicity protects follow-through. This skill improves every area of life. Health improves when routines are honored. Careers grow when responsibilities are completed. Relationships strengthen when words are matched by actions. Trust is universal. It starts inside and spreads outward. Follow-through also reduces fear. Many fears come from uncertainty about self-ability. When you trust yourself, fear loses influence. You know you can handle challenges because you have proven it through action. It is important to recognize progress. Mentally strong people acknowledge completed actions. They do not dismiss small wins. They understand that momentum comes from recognition. Follow-through does not require perfection. It requires honesty. If you fall behind, you adjust without self-attack. You recommit calmly. Mental strength includes compassion paired with discipline. This habit also sharpens focus. When you follow through regularly, distractions lose power. You become less reactive and more intentional. Purpose becomes clearer. Over time, follow-through shapes character. Character is not what you say, it is what you consistently do. Mentally strong people build character daily through simple, reliable actions. There is freedom in knowing you can trust yourself. Decisions feel lighter. Goals feel achievable. Life feels manageable. This freedom is earned, not granted. Follow-through also builds patience with others. When you trust yourself, you do not rush validation. You become less dependent on approval. Strength becomes internal. Every day offers chances to practice. Finish a task. Keep a small promise. Complete a routine. Each one matters. Each one adds to your internal foundation. Mental strength is built quietly. It does not announce itself. It grows through consistency. Follow-through is the tool. Trust is the reward. When you become reliable to yourself, your confidence becomes unshakable. Not because life is easy, but because you are dependable. That dependability becomes your anchor. Build trust in yourself through follow-through, and you build a life that feels solid, steady, and strong. This is how mentally strong people grow from the inside out. Chapter 4. Sit with discomfort until confidence grows. Confidence does not arrive first. Confidence shows up later. What arrives first is discomfort. Mentally strong people understand this, and they do not panic when they feel uneasy. They do not label discomfort as danger. They recognize it as a signal of growth. While most people rush to escape that feeling, mentally strong people stay present with it and allow it to do its work. Discomfort is part of every meaningful change. New habits feel awkward. New conversations feel tense. New responsibilities feel heavy. The body reacts. The mind resists. This is not failure. This is adjustment. Mentally strong people do not rush to soothe themselves with distractions or excuses. They stay in the moment long enough for strength to develop. Many people confuse discomfort with inability. They feel nervous and assume they are not ready. They feel unsure and assume they are not capable. Mentally strong people see it differently. They know discomfort is simply the mind adjusting to something unfamiliar. Familiarity creates comfort. Repetition creates familiarity. That is how confidence grows. When discomfort appears, the instinct is to pull back. The instinct is to quit early. The instinct is to look for relief. Relief feels good, short-term, but it delays growth. Mentally strong people choose progress over relief. They allow discomfort to pass naturally instead of running from it. Sitting with discomfort trains emotional endurance. It teaches the nervous system that unease is not an emergency. Over time, the body learns to stay calm under pressure. This calm becomes confidence. Confidence is not the absence of nerves. It is the ability to function while feeling them. Growth always challenges identity. When you try something new, the old version of you feels threatened. Doubt appears. Fear shows up. These feelings are not signs to stop. They are signs that identity is expanding. Mentally strong people let that process unfold. Avoidance creates fragility. Each time you escape discomfort, you reinforce fear. Each time you stay present, you weaken it. Strength is built by exposure, not avoidance. Mentally strong people expose themselves gradually and consistently to situations that stretch them. Confidence grows from proof. Proof comes from surviving discomfort. Each time you remain steady during uncertainty, the mind takes note. It learns that you can handle pressure. That learning becomes belief. Discomfort also sharpens awareness. When things feel uneasy, attention increases. You become more alert, more focused, more engaged. Mentally strong people use this heightened awareness to learn faster. They observe their reactions. They adjust behavior. They improve. There is a difference between pain and discomfort. Pain signals harm. Discomfort signals growth. Mentally strong people learn to distinguish between the two. They respect pain and respond wisely. They welcome discomfort and stay present. Staying with discomfort requires patience. The mind wants immediate comfort. Mental strength means allowing time for adaptation. Just as muscles strengthen through resistance, the mind strengthens through challenge. Many people wait to feel confident before acting. Mentally strong people act while feeling uncertain. They know that action is the teacher. Experience removes doubt more effectively than thought. Discomfort often appears as self-doubt. Thoughts question ability. Thoughts highlight risk. Mentally strong people do not argue with these thoughts emotionally. They continue moving forward calmly. Movement builds clarity. This practice builds courage. Courage is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet persistence during moments of unease. It is showing up again despite tension. Over time, courage becomes part of identity. Sitting with discomfort also improves decision-making. When you can tolerate uncertainty, you think more clearly. You do not rush decisions just to relieve pressure. You allow logic to guide action. Discomfort is temporary. Avoidance creates permanence. Mentally strong people remind themselves that feelings pass. They stay grounded. They breathe. They allow the moment to unfold. This approach changes how challenges feel. What once caused panic becomes manageable. What once felt overwhelming becomes familiar. Confidence grows from repeated exposure. There is strength in staying. Staying in the conversation. Staying in the task. Staying in the effort. Mentally strong people stay long enough to learn something valuable. Discomfort also reveals values. When things are easy, values are hidden. When things are hard, values become clear. Mentally strong people use discomfort to align actions with value. Growth is not comfortable. Comfort is stable. Growth is unstable at first. Mentally strong people accept instability as part of progress. This mindset applies to every area of life. Health routines feel uncomfortable at first. Honest conversations feel uncomfortable. Learning new skills feels uncomfortable. Avoiding these moments limits potential. Confidence built through discomfort is durable. It does not disappear when conditions change. It is based on experience, not mood. Mentally strong people develop trust in their ability to adapt. That trust reduces fear of the unknown. The unknown becomes an opportunity instead of a threat. Staying with discomfort also improves resilience. When setbacks occur, you recover faster. Because discomfort is familiar, you do not collapse emotionally. You adjust and continue. The world rewards comfort. But strength comes from challenge. Mentally strong people choose long-term growth over short-term ease. Discomfort teaches humility. It reminds you that learning takes time. It encourages patience with yourself and others. This practice requires honesty. You must recognize when you are avoiding growth. Mentally strong people notice avoidance and gently challenge it. Over time, discomfort loses its intensity. What once felt overwhelming becomes routine. Confidence grows quietly through consistency. There is peace on the other side of discomfort, not because challenges disappear, but because your ability to handle them improves. Mental strength is not built in moments of ease. It is built in moments of tension. Managed well. Sit with discomfort until confidence grows. Allow the process. Trust the repetition. Strength is forming, even when it feels uncomfortable. Chapter 5. Question negative thoughts before believing them. The human mind speaks constantly. Thoughts arrive without invitation. Some are helpful, many are not. Mentally strong people understand one important truth most people miss: not every thought deserves belief. A thought is just a thought until you accept it as truth. The moment you believe it, you give it power. Mental strength begins when you slow down and question what your mind is telling you. Negative thoughts often sound convincing. They use familiar language. They speak with confidence. They repeat past experiences. They predict failure. They warn of embarrassment. They remind you of mistakes. Because they sound personal, people assume they must be true. Mentally strong people do not make that mistake. They treat thoughts like suggestions, not commands. The mind is designed to protect, not to empower. It looks for risk. It remembers pain. It exaggerates danger. This is useful for survival but harmful for growth. When you try something new, the mind reacts with doubt. It tries to pull you back to what feels safe. Mentally strong people recognize this pattern. They do not fight the thought emotionally. They question it calmly. Questioning a thought creates distance. Distance creates clarity. Instead of saying "this thought is me," they say "this thought is happening." That small shift breaks identification. You are no longer trapped inside the thought. You are observing it. Observation restores control. Negative thoughts often deal in extremes. Always, never, everyone, no one. They paint the future as fixed. They replay the past as proof. Mentally strong people listen for these signals. When a thought feels absolute, they pause. Life is rarely absolute. Growth lives in possibility. Many people allow one negative thought to set the tone for an entire day. One mistake becomes a story. One comment becomes a conclusion. Mentally strong people interrupt that process. They ask simple questions. Is this thought accurate? Is it helpful? Is it based on facts or fear? The goal is not to replace every negative thought with positivity. Forced positivity creates resistance. The goal is realism. Mentally strong people prefer truth over comfort. They look for balanced thinking. They ask what else might be true. They look for evidence, not emotion. The mind often confuses feeling with fact. Feeling tired becomes "I cannot do this." Feeling nervous becomes "I am not capable." Feeling uncertain becomes "this will fail." Mentally strong people separate emotion from conclusion. Feelings change quickly. Facts require proof. Questioning thoughts also protects self-respect. When you believe every critical thought, you weaken your relationship with yourself. You begin to doubt your ability. You hesitate more. You shrink goals. Mentally strong people protect their inner dialogue because they know confidence grows from fair thinking. Negative thoughts often repeat old messages. Past criticism becomes internal. Old failures replay. Mentally strong people recognize when a thought belongs to the past. They remind themselves that growth has occurred. They update the story. Thoughts influence behavior. Believed thoughts shape decisions. When you believe you are not ready, you delay action. When you believe you will fail, you stop trying. Mentally strong people challenge these assumptions before they shape behavior. Questioning does not mean arguing aggressively with the mind. It means curiosity. It means asking, where did this come from? It means noticing patterns. Over time you learn which thoughts deserve attention and which do not. This practice creates emotional stability. When thoughts are questioned, emotions soften, anxiety loses intensity, fear becomes manageable, clarity returns. Mentally strong people experience emotions without being ruled by them. The mind often predicts outcomes without data. It imagines rejection. It expects disappointment. Mentally strong people do not accept predictions without evidence. They remind themselves that the future is not written by a thought. Negative thoughts often arrive during moments of fatigue, stress, or change. Mentally strong people factor in context. They ask, am I tired? Am I overwhelmed? Am I hungry? Sometimes the thought is not the issue. The state is. Questioning thoughts also builds self-leadership. You become the decision maker rather than the reactor. You choose which thoughts influence action. This choice builds strength. Many people assume confident individuals have fewer negative thoughts. That is not true. Mentally strong people have the same thoughts. The difference is response. They do not let the thought take over. This skill improves relationships. When you question assumptions, you communicate better. You stop mind reading. You stop jumping to conclusions. You respond with understanding instead of defensiveness. Questioning thoughts also improves performance. Doubt slows progress. Clear thinking sharpens focus. When mental noise reduces, energy is freed for action. This practice takes repetition. Thoughts move fast. Awareness grows slowly. Mentally strong people practice daily. They catch thoughts mid-sentence. They pause before belief. There is freedom in realizing you are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. That realization changes everything. Negative thoughts lose power when exposed to light. Silence strengthens them. Examination weakens them. Mentally strong people bring thoughts into awareness. This approach does not eliminate struggle. It changes relationship with struggle. Thoughts become information, not identity. Over time, the mind learns. It produces fewer extreme thoughts. Balance increases. Calm becomes familiar. Questioning thoughts is not about control. It is about choice. Choice creates strength. Mental strength is built through conscious thinking. Thoughts shape direction. Direction shapes life. When you question negative thoughts before believing them, you protect confidence, clarity, and peace. You stop letting the mind sabotage progress. You become a thoughtful leader of your inner world. That is how mentally strong people think. Chapter 6. Show up daily even without motivation. Showing up every day without motivation is one of the most misunderstood skills in personal growth. People often believe consistency is fueled by passion, excitement, or discipline that feels heroic. In reality, it's built on something quieter and far more reliable: agreement with yourself. When motivation disappears, and it always does at some point, the only thing that matters is whether you have decided in advance to show up anyway. Progress is rarely dramatic. It's subtle, almost boring, and that's exactly why it works. Most days will not feel inspiring. Some days you will feel tired, distracted, frustrated, or completely uninterested in the work in front of you. Waiting to feel ready is a trap, because readiness is emotional, and emotions are unstable. If your actions depend on how you feel, your results will be equally unstable. Showing up daily means you act first, and let your emotions catch up later. Action creates clarity, not the other way around. Consistency isn't about doing your best every day. It's about doing something even when your best feels unreachable. A short session counts. A weak attempt counts. An imperfect effort still moves you forward. The goal is not to impress anyone, including yourself. The goal is to maintain momentum. Momentum is fragile, but once lost, it takes far more energy to restart than to continue. One of the biggest reasons people fail to show up is because they expect every session to feel meaningful, but meaning often shows up in hindsight, not in the moment. The days that feel dull or pointless are often the ones laying the foundation for future breakthroughs. Growth doesn't announce itself when it's happening. It reveals itself later, when you realize you're stronger, faster, calmer, or more capable than you used to be. Showing up daily also removes the pressure to be exceptional. When you commit to daily presence, you stop treating each day like a performance. You don't need dramatic results today, because tomorrow is already scheduled. This mindset lowers resistance. When the bar is simply to show up, starting becomes easier. And starting is the hardest part. There is power in routine, because routine reduces decision-making. When something is non-negotiable, you don't debate it. You don't waste energy asking whether you should do it. You just do it. That saved mental energy compounds over time. It allows you to focus on execution instead of internal arguments. You stop negotiating with excuses because the decision has already been made. Motivation often follows action, not the other way around. Many people wait to feel motivated before they begin, but motivation is usually the reward for movement. Once you start, even reluctantly, your brain adjusts. Resistance fades. Focus improves. You may not feel inspired, but you feel engaged. And engagement is enough. Engagement keeps you present, and presence is where progress happens. Another overlooked benefit of daily showing up is identity change. Every time you act consistently, you cast a vote for the type of person you are becoming. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who shows up. This shift is subtle but powerful. When your identity changes, your behavior follows naturally. You don't need constant willpower because consistency becomes part of who you are. It's important to accept that some days will feel unproductive. That doesn't mean they are useless. Even showing up and doing the bare minimum reinforces the habit. Habits grow through repetition, not intensity. Missing days weakens the habit loop, while maintaining presence even lightly strengthens it. Think of consistency as protecting the chain, not maximizing output. There will be moments when skipping feels justified. You'll tell yourself you deserve a break, or that today doesn't matter. Sometimes rest is necessary, but rest should be intentional, not avoidance disguised as self-care. True rest supports consistency, avoidance erodes it. The difference lies in honesty. Are you resting to recover, or resting to escape discomfort? Discomfort is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that you're stretching beyond what's familiar. Growth often feels awkward before it feels rewarding. Showing up daily teaches you to coexist with discomfort instead of running from it. Over time, discomfort loses its power. What once felt heavy becomes normal. What once felt impossible becomes routine. Daily effort also builds trust with yourself. When you repeatedly do what you said you would do, even when it's inconvenient, your confidence grows quietly. This confidence isn't loud or flashy, it's stable. It shows up as self-respect. You begin to rely on yourself, and that reliability spills into every area of life. The truth is, most success stories are not built on extraordinary motivation. They are built on ordinary days, stacked patiently together. People don't fail because they lack talent or potential. They fail because they stop showing up when progress becomes invisible. The ability to continue without immediate feedback is a rare skill, and it's one you can train. Showing up daily doesn't mean you never struggle. It means you struggle while continuing. It means you allow yourself to feel unmotivated without letting that feeling control your actions. Feelings are temporary, habits are durable. When you choose habits over feelings, you choose long-term results over short-term comfort. Eventually something shifts. The work becomes familiar. The resistance weakens. You realize that motivation was never the key. Commitment was. You didn't need to feel ready. You needed to be present, and by showing up day after day, quietly and imperfectly, you build a version of yourself that doesn't rely on motivation at all. That is the real power of daily showing up. Not dramatic transformation overnight, but steady evolution over time. You become someone who acts regardless of mood, who keeps promises to themselves, and who understands that progress is earned through presence. When motivation fades, discipline doesn't have to roar. It only has to whisper. Just show up today. Chapter 7. Learn faster by owning your mistakes. Learning faster has very little to do with intelligence and almost everything to do with how you respond when things go wrong. Mistakes are not interruptions to progress. They are the raw material of it. The people who grow quickly are not the ones who avoid errors, but the ones who face them directly, without denial, defensiveness, or delay. Owning your mistakes accelerates learning because it removes friction between reality and understanding. Most people waste enormous energy trying to protect their image. They explain, justify, minimize, or shift blame, all to avoid the discomfort of being wrong. In doing so, they delay the lesson hidden inside the mistake. The moment you accept full responsibility, the lesson becomes clear. Clarity speeds improvement. Resistance slows it down. Growth begins the instant you stop arguing with what already happened. Mistakes carry information, but only if you are willing to listen. Every error reveals something about your assumptions, your habits, your blind spots, or your preparation. When you avoid responsibility, you also avoid insight. When you own the outcome, you gain access to feedback that no success could ever provide. Success confirms what you already know. Failure shows you what you don't. Owning a mistake does not mean attacking yourself. It means separating your identity from your actions. You can acknowledge that something went wrong without concluding that you are broken or incapable. Self-criticism clouds learning. Honest evaluation sharpens it. The goal is not punishment, it is correction. When you treat mistakes as data rather than personal flaws, improvement becomes practical instead of emotional. Speed in learning comes from shortening the time between action and adjustment. The faster you recognize an error, the faster you can adapt. Avoidance stretches that timeline. Denial stretches it even further. Ownership collapses it into the present moment. You see what happened, you understand why, and you change your approach immediately. No drama, no delay. There is also freedom in ownership. When you stop blaming circumstances or other people, you regain control. Blame hands your power away. Responsibility pulls it back. Even when factors are outside your control, your response never is. The moment you say, "This is on me," you shift from helplessness to agency. Learning accelerates when you believe you can influence outcome. Mistakes are inevitable when you attempt anything worthwhile. Avoiding them usually means playing small, staying safe, and repeating what already feels comfortable. That kind of caution creates stagnation disguised as stability. Progress demands experimentation, and experimentation guarantees errors. Owning mistakes allows you to experiment boldly without being crushed by setbacks. Another overlooked benefit of ownership is credibility. People trust those who can admit when they're wrong. More importantly, you trust yourself more when you don't hide from reality. That internal trust matters. It allows you to take risks without fear of self-betrayal. You know that even if things go badly, you'll face it honestly and learn. Learning faster also requires emotional maturity. The sting of being wrong is real. Embarrassment, frustration, and disappointment naturally follow mistakes. Ownership doesn't erase these feelings, but it prevents them from controlling your behavior. You acknowledge the discomfort without letting it turn into avoidance. Emotional resilience turns mistakes into stepping stones instead of stopping points. Many people repeat the same mistakes because they never fully acknowledge them. They rush past the moment, hoping it won't happen again, but without understanding why it happened in the first place. Ownership slows you down just enough to extract the lesson. It forces reflection. Reflection turns experience into wisdom. Owning mistakes also sharpens judgment. Over time you begin to recognize patterns. You notice the decisions that consistently lead to problems. You identify weak processes, rushed thinking, or overconfidence. This awareness compounds. Each mistake makes you slightly more precise, slightly more prepared, slightly less reactive. That precision is the hallmark of mastery. There is also humility in ownership, and humility is a learning accelerator. When you accept that you don't have all the answers, you become more curious. Curiosity opens you to feedback, advice, and new perspectives. Arrogance blocks all of them. People who believe they're always right stop improving early. Those who remain open keep evolving. Mistakes lose their power when they are acknowledged quickly. What lingers is not the error itself, but the energy spent hiding it. Ownership brings closure. You don't carry the weight forward, you resolve it, adjust, and move on. This mental lightness allows you to focus fully on the next attempt instead of replaying the last failure. Learning faster is not about avoiding pain, it's about shortening its duration. A brief moment of discomfort from admitting a mistake is far less costly than months of stagnation caused by denial. The sooner you face it, the sooner it stops controlling you. Ownership is efficient. Avoidance is expensive. Over time, this mindset changes how you approach challenges. You stop fearing mistakes and start expecting feedback. You approach problems with curiosity instead of tension. You test ideas, observe results, and refine your approach continuously. This cycle, try, fail, learn, adjust, is how real expertise is built. Eventually, you realize that mistakes are not obstacles on the path, they are the path. Each one points you closer to what works. Each one strips away illusion. Each one sharpens your understanding. The faster you own them, the faster you grow. Owning your mistakes doesn't make you weaker, it makes you faster, clearer, and more adaptable. It trains you to respond to reality instead of fighting it, and in a world that rewards speed of learning more than perfection, that ability becomes one of your greatest advantages. Chapter 8. Choose effort today over regret tomorrow. Every meaningful decision is a quiet trade between discomfort now and disappointment later. Effort asks something from you in the present: time, energy, focus, patience. Regret asks for nothing up front, which is why it's so easy to choose. But regret collects its payment slowly, with interest, and by the time it's fully felt, there is no refund. Choosing effort today is not about heroics, it's about foresight. Most people don't fail because they choose the wrong path. They fail because they postpone action until the cost feels unbearable. Delay is rarely neutral. It silently decides for you. Each time you avoid effort, you reinforce a habit of avoidance. Each time you act despite resistance, you build momentum. The difference between the two paths becomes obvious only much later, when the outcomes are already locked in. Effort often feels heavier than it is because the mind exaggerates its cost. It imagines exhaustion, difficulty, and sacrifice far beyond what actually occurs. Once you begin, the weight usually shrinks. Regret works in the opposite way. It feels light in the moment, but grows heavier with time. What starts as a small missed opportunity turns into a persistent question you can't stop asking yourself. Choosing effort today requires honesty about the future. You must be willing to picture yourself, months or years from now, looking back at this moment. Will you be grateful that you pushed through resistance, or frustrated that you chose comfort instead? That imagined future version of you is shaped by the decisions you make now, not by the intentions you hold. Effort builds options, regret closes them. When you invest energy into something difficult, you expand what's possible later. Skills compound. Confidence grows. Opportunities appear. When you avoid effort, doors quietly close. Not dramatically, but gradually. The world responds to action, not potential. Potential without effort remains hypothetical. It's easy to romanticize ease. Rest feels deserved, comfort feels harmless, and distraction feels temporary. But when ease becomes a pattern rather than a pause, it erodes self-respect. You begin to sense the gap between what you could do and what you actually do. That gap is where regret lives. It's not loud, but it's persistent. Effort is also an act of self-trust. When you choose to work through difficulty, you're telling yourself that you can handle discomfort. That belief matters. It shapes how you approach future challenges. People who consistently choose effort develop a quiet confidence that doesn't depend on circumstances. They know they won't abandon themselves when things get hard. Regret, on the other hand, often carries a sense of helplessness. It's the feeling of knowing you could have acted, but didn't. That knowledge lingers. It doesn't motivate, it drains. It doesn't inspire change. It breeds resentment toward past versions of yourself. Effort prevents this internal conflict by aligning your actions with your values in real time. Choosing effort today doesn't guarantee immediate success, it guarantees integrity. You can fail after trying and still sleep with peace. You can struggle while knowing you honored your potential. Regret rarely comes from failed attempts, it comes from unattempted chances. People don't regret trying and falling short nearly as much as they regret never trying at all. Effort also sharpens perspective. When you engage fully, you learn what actually matters. You discover which goals are worth pursuing and which were just distractions. Without effort, everything remains vague. With effort, clarity emerges. Even when outcomes aren't ideal, understanding increases. Understanding reduces future regret. There will always be reasons to wait. Timing will never feel perfect. Energy will fluctuate. Circumstances will shift. If you wait for ideal conditions, effort will always be postponed. The people who move forward are not the ones with fewer obstacles, they are the ones who stop using obstacles as excuses. They act with what they have, where they are. Effort today also simplifies the future. Work done now reduces pressure later. Skills built early compound. Problems addressed sooner shrink. Avoidance creates accumulation. Tasks pile up. Decisions become heavier. Regret grows because the cost of action increases over time. Early effort is an investment that pays in ease later. Choosing effort is not about constant strain, it's about intentional discomfort in service of long-term well-being. It's choosing the gym session so your body doesn't ache years later. It's choosing the difficult conversation so resentment doesn't fester. It's choosing focus so chaos doesn't dominate. Small efforts protect you from large regrets. There is also dignity in effort. When you look back on periods of sustained work, even exhausting ones, you feel pride. That pride isn't dependent on results. It comes from knowing you didn't avoid the challenge. Regret offers no such reward, it only replays what might have been. Over time, Choosing effort becomes less about forcing yourself and more about honoring yourself. You stop asking whether you feel like doing the work and start asking whether future you will thank you. That shift changes everything. It reframes effort as care, not punishment. Life doesn't demand perfection, but it does respond to participation. Effort is how you participate fully. It's how you vote for the future you want instead of settling for the one that happens by default. Regret is rarely caused by doing too much. It's caused by doing too little for too long. In the end, effort is temporary, but regret can be permanent. The discomfort of trying fades. The discomfort of not trying often does. When you choose effort today, you protect your future from unnecessary pain. You give yourself the chance to look back and say, I didn't hold myself back. And that freedom is worth every ounce of effort you put in now. Chapter 9. Protect your energy by setting boundaries. Energy is one of the most valuable resources you have, yet it's also one of the easiest to lose without noticing. Unlike time or money, energy leaks quietly. It drains through conversations you don't want to have, commitments you didn't choose intentionally, environments that exhaust you, and expectations that don't belong to you. Setting boundaries is how you stop that silent drain. It's not about pushing people away. It's about protecting what allows you to show up fully for what truly matters. Many people think boundaries are aggressive or selfish. In reality, the absence of boundaries is what leads to resentment, burnout, and emotional exhaustion. When you constantly say yes to everything and everyone, you're not being generous, you're being careless with your own capacity. Over time, this carelessness shows up as irritability, fatigue, and a sense that life is constantly demanding more than you can give. Boundaries are decisions made in advance. They remove the pressure of constant negotiation. When you know what you will and won't tolerate, you no longer have to debate every request. That clarity saves energy. It also builds self-respect. Each boundary you uphold is a reminder that your needs are valid and your limits matter. Protecting your energy doesn't mean isolating yourself from others. It means choosing engagement intentionally. Not every conversation deserves your attention. Not every problem requires your involvement. Not every request needs an immediate response. Energy preserved through discernment can be redirected toward growth, creativity, and meaningful connection. One of the biggest energy drains is emotional labor performed out of obligation rather than choice. Constantly managing other people's emotions, expectations, or crises can quietly consume your mental reserves. Boundaries allow you to be compassionate without being consumed. You can care without carrying what isn't yours. This distinction is crucial for long-term emotional health. Saying no is uncomfortable at first because it challenges habits formed around approval. Many people are conditioned to equate being liked with being available. But availability without limits leads to depletion. Boundaries teach others how to treat you, but more importantly, they teach you how to treat yourself. Each time you honor your limits, you reinforce the belief that your well-being is worth protecting. Energy is also drained by environments that conflict with your values or goals. Constant noise, negativity, or chaos takes a toll even if you don't consciously notice it. Boundaries might mean limiting exposure to certain spaces, conversations, or media. This isn't avoidance, it's curation. You shape your environment so it supports, rather than sabotages, your focus and peace. Protecting your energy also requires internal boundaries. Overthinking, rumination, and self-criticism are just as draining as external demands. Learning when you stop engaging with unproductive thoughts is a form of boundary setting. You don't have to entertain every worry or replay every mistake. Mental boundaries create room for clarity and calm. Another overlooked aspect of boundaries is time. Time is the container for your energy. When your schedule is packed with obligations you didn't consciously choose, your energy has no space to recover. Boundaries around time might look like leaving earlier, starting later, or protecting certain hours for rest or deep work. These choices aren't luxuries, they're necessities. People may resist your boundaries, especially if they benefited from your lack of them. This resistance can trigger guilt, but guilt is often a sign that you're breaking an old pattern, not doing something wrong. Discomfort is part of the process. Boundaries feel awkward before they feel empowering. Over time that discomfort fades, replaced by relief and stability. Protecting your energy allows you to be more present where it counts. Instead of being stretched thin everywhere, you become fully engaged in fewer places. This depth improves the quality of your relationships and your work. People don't benefit from a drained version of you, they benefit from a grounded, energized one. Boundaries also prevent burnout by creating recovery space. Without rest, energy can't regenerate. Without boundaries, rest gets crowded out by demands. Protecting your energy ensures that effort is sustainable rather than exhausting. Sustainability matters more than intensity. What you can maintain over time will always outperform what burns you out quickly. There's also a quiet confidence that comes from clear boundaries. You stop over-explaining. You stop justifying your needs. You state what works for you and allow others to respond as they will. This confidence isn't rigid, it's calm. It signals self-awareness and emotional maturity. Protecting your energy doesn't mean life becomes easy. Challenges remain, responsibilities don't disappear. What changes is how much unnecessary weight you carry. Boundaries remove the excess so you can handle what's essential with strength and clarity. Over time, boundaries reshape your life. You notice fewer moments of resentment and more moments of focus. You feel less reactive and more intentional. You begin to recognize when something is costing more energy than it's worth. That awareness becomes a compass, guiding decisions both big and small. Ultimately, setting boundaries is an act of respect for yourself and for others. It creates honest interactions instead of silent resentment. It preserves your energy so it can be invested wisely. When you protect your energy, you protect your ability to grow, to contribute, and to live with intention. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. And through those filters, your life becomes clearer, calmer, and far more sustainable. Chapter 10. Act decisively without waiting to feel ready. Waiting to feel ready is one of the most convincing delays the mind can create. It sounds responsible, thoughtful, even wise. In reality, readiness is often an illusion built from fear, uncertainty, and the desire for guarantees. Most meaningful actions are taken before confidence arrives. Decisive action doesn't come from feeling prepared. It creates preparation through motion. Readiness suggests a future moment where doubt disappears and clarity becomes complete. That moment rarely comes. Information is always incomplete. Conditions are never perfect. Energy fluctuates. If you wait for everything to align, you give hesitation control over your direction. Acting decisively means accepting uncertainty and moving forward anyway. Decisiveness is not recklessness. It's the ability to choose without needing absolute certainty. It's recognizing that clarity is sharpened through action, not contemplation. Thinking has limits. At some point, additional analysis stops helping and starts protecting you from discomfort. Action breaks that loop. Many people confuse hesitation with caution. True caution evaluates risks, then decides. Hesitation replays the same concerns without resolution. Acting decisively means you gather what information you reasonably can, then commit. You trust your ability to adapt rather than your ability to predict. Momentum favors those who move early. When you act, you enter the feedback loop of reality. You see what works, what doesn't, and what needs adjustment. Those who wait stay stuck in theory. Experience always teaches faster than imagination. Even imperfect action produces real data. Fear often disguises itself as preparation. You tell yourself you need more time, more skills, more confidence, but confidence is rarely a prerequisite. It's usually the result. Each decisive step strengthens belief in your own capability. Each delay weakens it. Action builds trust with yourself. Waiting erodes it. There is also a cost to indecision that's rarely acknowledged. Opportunities expire. Energy fades. Circumstances change. While you wait to feel ready, the moment you were waiting for quietly passes. Regret often comes not from bad decisions, but from decisions never made. Acting decisively simplifies life. When you choose, mental noise decreases. Endless internal debates drain energy. A decision, even a challenging one, creates direction. Direction brings focus. Focus restores energy that hesitation was wasting. Readiness is emotional. Decision-making should be intentional. Emotions fluctuate daily, sometimes hourly. If you allow feelings to dictate action, progress becomes inconsistent. Decisive people acknowledge emotions without obeying them. They act based on values, priorities, and long-term vision rather than momentary comfort. Another illusion tied to readiness is the fear of making the wrong choice. But most decisions are not permanent. They are adjustable. Acting decisively does not trap you. It positions you. From movement you can pivot. From stillness, you can only speculate. Decisive action also builds resilience. When you move without guarantees, you train yourself to handle outcomes instead of fearing them. You learn that even when things don't go as planned, you survive, adapt, and improve. This realization reduces fear over time. Courage grows through repetition, not reflection. Waiting to feel ready often means waiting to feel safe. Growth is rarely safe. It involves exposure, learning curves, and temporary discomfort. Decisive action accepts this as part of the process instead of a signal to stop. Comfort is not a reliable guide for progress. There is a subtle confidence in choosing quickly and moving forward. Not rushed, but committed. You stop outsourcing belief to future circumstances. You stop needing external validation to begin. You take responsibility for your direction instead of waiting for permission from certainty. Acting decisively also changes how others perceive you. People respond to clarity. They trust those who move with intention. Indecision creates friction, not because others judge it, but because it slows momentum. Decisiveness signals leadership, even in personal choices. It's important to understand that mistakes made through action are more useful than perfect plans never executed. Errors refine judgment. Experience sharpens intuition. Decisive action accelerates this learning. You become quicker not because you rush, but because you've practiced choosing. Many breakthroughs happen immediately after the decision to act. Not because action magically solves everything, but because it unlocks engagement. Once you commit, your mind aligns. Focus replaces doubt. Energy follows direction. Readiness also implies that failure would be catastrophic. In reality, most failures are instructional. Acting decisively reframes failure as feedback. Instead of asking, "Am I ready?" you ask, "What can I learn next?" That question keeps you moving. Over time, decisiveness becomes a habit. You stop dramatizing choices. You trust yourself to figure things out as you go. Life feels less heavy because you're not constantly waiting for certainty that never arrives. The people who move forward are not the ones with the least fear. They are the ones who refuse to let fear decide. They understand that waiting for readiness is often just waiting for fear to disappear. And fear fades through action, not avoidance. In the end, decisiveness is an act of self-belief. It says, I don't need perfect conditions to begin. I will grow into the challenge. When you stop waiting to feel ready and start acting with intention, progress becomes inevitable. Not because the path is clear, but because you are moving.